Hey, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. I want to say double honors to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth and sincerity. This Rob Amath with the Nebraska camp. And I just want to go over, I just meditating on this, the concept of how, we've been used by Esau as scapegoats. This is pursuant to Leviticus, the 16th chapter. Okay, we'll get that real quick. So in Leviticus 16, you can start at verse 9, but I'll start at verse 8 and says, "And Aaron shall cast lots upon 2 goats, one lot for the Lord, and the other lot for the scapegoat." Okay, now it's referenced as scapegoats for both of them at one point, but at the end of the day, the scapegoat is the goat that is released. Okay, and that scapegoat goes back to the Hebrew Azazel, or they like to say Azazel, and they try to associate that with a demon, and things like that, which is we'll get into it. You know what I'm saying? But this is the whole point is that there's nothing new under the sun, and we've been used as scapegoats since day one, and we're going to prove it. Okay, but we're going to go into the concept of scapegoat. All right, it says in verse 9, it says, "And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering." Okay, and that's the goat that will be slaughtered. Okay, that's the goat that the lot will fall upon. Salaki, and I read again. It says, "And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord, to make him an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness." Okay, and they try to associate the wilderness with being like wickedness and that, what I'm saying. But like this allegory has been repeated time again, in which when they are asked to free Yahushai Barabbas, and they chose Barabbas, and they was using the same concept, but it ended up being a spiritual thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because that's what Esau is trying to do it in the inverted manner of trying to paint himself as the white knight, and then letting us go into the wild as the scapegoat. Okay, and he's trying to do that. So his manners is turning, like it says, surely a turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the powder's clay. And that's a concept of what he's doing. He's using a scapegoat method, but using it in order to destroy, or not even destroy. I would say to better phrase it as to place the blame on us. Pretty much throwing rocks high in your hands. Making sure that we're held accountable while you destroy the world. Okay. Case in point, you'll have the war on drugs, for example. So we're gonna go. I went to Chat GPT, right? Okay, so it says here that scapegoat. It says the question I asked is, what's the allegory for the goat that is released via Leviticus scapegoat? And it says you're referring to the scapegoat ritual in the Hebrew Bible, especially in the book of Leviticus, chapter 16, on the Day of Atonement. Okay. One goat, and it's like Esau is doing on the left hand side. He's making atonement for his sins by putting it on us. You know what I'm saying? So he's on the left hand using his witchcraft to do it. Where the Lord will do it on the right hand side, to where it's properly done, and there's a cleansing. Nobody's getting hurt. Nobody's getting ran under the bus. Only animals was hurt in this film. But heavy. It's heavy that it was on a day of atonement as well. Okay, okay. So it says 2 goats were chosen. 1 goat was sacrificed to the Most High. Okay, and that's the elect. And Esau's doing it on the left hand side as though he the elect. But in time and time again, you know, um, you know that sacrifice going to Isaac, Yahushai. There's always been a sacrifice on Jacob had to lay under the sword. And Yahushua pretty much was the end and the solidification of that allegory, of being a scapegoat. Okay, because that ain't gonna have to be a situation, because now we're redeemed. Okay, our sins are forgiven of us through Yahushua. All right, and that's why he is to be honored, all right, and praised, and his name should be exalted. You know, it's just that people have their little things about him. So let's get back to it. Okay, going back to Chat GPT, it says uh, uh, the second scapegoat is a scapegoat. The ideal is the allegorical and symbolic. The goat represents carrying away guilt, sin, blame, and impurity from the community. You see, so America be doing all kind of wickedness, and they'll sit there and point and say, "Look over here." They're doing it right now, left and right. They're doing it so much you don't know what it is you can blame it on. Is it to the files? Is it the war? Is it the aliens now? You know what I'm saying? Which we know it ain't that. You know, so there's something. It's almost like you shuffling the board with the bottle with the card with the little ball underneath. You try to follow the cat. And that's all he's doing. You know, because all it could be true, but some of it could be a worthless truth or a deflective truth. You know, but the point is that he's using these scapegoats to ultimately distract the people while they continue their agenda and their devices. Okay, because at the end of the day, the ultimate agenda is what? The MOTB, all right, the Michael C. Hip, okay? The ultimate, prophetically, the famine of the word, actual famine, concentration camps, and ultimately what? Thermonuclear missiles. That's what's going to happen. So when you hasten in the day, you gotta, you gotta kind of read the writing on the wall, like it says. When you see when the cloud come, it's rain. How much more to you? How about Shemal Shai, man? You know, like we watching these prophecies manifest and come to pass. But let's get back to it. It says, continuing reading on, it says, releasing it into the wilderness symbolizes removal, exile, and cleansing. And it's almost like you're just like the Epstein situation, or like the John Gruden situation, where John Gruden, the email got out and he's using the N bomb, and it's like, okay, y'all won't blame it all on him, but who all was in the emails? You know what I'm saying? Because it was a group email. You just gonna put it on him like he was the only one using it? No, use him as a scapegoat. I'm just pointing him out just to show you that the method is being used far and abroad and wide, far wide and abroad. This is a normal tactic for Esau, and he especially like to do it to our people, and it's going back since the time of our the medical malpractice, and they always use their science, so-called, to justify their wickedness or their laws. All right, like they write their laws that's which they have wickedly prescribed. You know, um, roughly paraphrasing, but they set up situations to where they could white knight themselves and justify it, just like eugenics. Okay, and the concept of the XXY chromosome. All right, and there's a term called the myth of the born criminal. Okay, it says in 1965, researchers falsely claimed that an extra Y chromosome, the 47XYY karyotype, created an overly aggressive biological determined super male. This racist theory perfectly mirrored earlier thoroughly debunked theories by criminologists like Cesar Labrajo. That's neither here nor there. Um, but I read the point is target surveillance. Just as early eugenicists focused heavily on blacks and marginalized communities to prove theories of racial degeneration, the flawed XYY studies specifically targeted institutionalized population. They ignored the massive selection bias inherited in their research. So they pretty much would pinpoint Jake. But why would people say, oh no, why would just this do it to them? Propaganda. You put out there that newsletters that these guys are inherently hyper aggressive and that this is their possibility. And then there's nothing new under the sun. This same thing is going on now. And it's a concept of using us as a scapegoat by, paying for the loudest, most ignorant programmed Negro that has the most influence on people like the Pied Piper, and you put him in front of that TV screen, and he's gonna rock the world to sleep. Some people don't have ignorance, but you can, if they're desperate enough, you can pay them a bag, and they're gonna not say the things that you don't want them to say, and some of them will go far enough to say anything. You know, I don't know for sure what's going on, but you could tell. There's people that go far, and there's people that's just in the game. You know, you got your Denzels, and you got your Kevin Harts. To it's like there's no low that person to go. You know what I'm saying? You got your Denzels and your Diddies. You know, but it says continuing on, it says eugenics and state control. The ultimate goal of both scientific racism and early chromosome screening was the implementation of eugenics policies. Pretty much the genocide of Jake, man. The spreading of the Aryan nation. The pure race, right? This is where it all comes from. So, to sum it up, at a point they were considering Jake as hyper aggressive, and then they'll turn around and consider the women as hyper sexual. Okay, and there's nothing new under the sun. This is the same thing that's being perpetuated towards our men and our women. And what is the benefit? The men are incarcerated. Okay.
Mr. Gathrigh's age, physical abilities, things like that, do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I say yes. With my experience, not only just in classification, but as former warden and even as a jail administrator, he's someone that's young, he's healthy. In reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity, and we will put him out there to work because we do have an aging prison population, jail administration. We have that, so we put these young individuals to work and get some sweat equity out of them since they are young and actually can do the work.
And we talk about Mr. Gathrigh's age, physical abilities, things like that. Do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I say yes. With my experience, not only just in classification, but as former warden and even as a jail administrator, he's someone that's young, he's healthy. In reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity.
So, hey, Shalom, Yabashimashai, Barakadas, Barakatham, Kalo Yabashimashai. Yeah, man, my last lesson audio got flipped or muted. So I had some precepts that I wanted to add to the end of it. Got to give, let the scriptures talk, of course. Okay. And I wanted to go into, let's see here. I'm going to Revelations 12 and 10. It says, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power. And the accuser, and the power of Yahweh, of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuseth them before our power day and night. And that accuser is talking about Esau, okay? And that accuser also connects to slander, and it goes back to Satan, because Esau is the offspring of Satan, just like we're the offspring of really the offspring of the Lord or the righteous. You know what I'm saying? They're the offspring of the left hand side, we're the offspring of the right hand side in the physical manifest. Okay? And this is the thing, they accuse us, they slander, they pick shots at us. Okay? Because why? When you do that, you pretty much, you're putting charges on us. And what I like to call is entrapment. When you go into the word of entrapment, it's pretty much to set up a crime, a government setting up a crime, pretty much leaving a sandwich out around a bunch of poor people. Whoever pick it up first, then they're a criminal. You're inciting crime. Okay, and that's what Esau does, and through his propaganda, through his sorcery and his witchcraft, standing in the multitude of thy sorceries, as the scriptures say, which is proof that they have a bunch of sorceries, which is magic, which is smoke and mirrors and false accusations, lies, all that's connected. Even the actual magic of dealing with demons and all that. Yeah. Okay. So Esau uses the method of his propaganda and his tongue, his forked tongue, because it says when adversity cometh, affliction cometh, that he will be there first, because he's going to take advantage and put you on blast, and then say, I helped that nigga, he needed me. Okay, so I wanted to get another precept in Habakkuk 2:15. It says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunk also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. You see, and that's what they do. And then it comes out, they're going to tell you, statistics show that y'all ain't shit. So we get to treat you like subhuman, because ultimately that's their ultimate goal, is to be justified and treating you how they want, which is pretty much to incarcerate you and make you labor, put you into slave labor again, to sell you drugs, diagnose you with some kind of medical disease, so they could pump you full of drugs. That's how they make money. Because who's paying for it? It's the government. It's a hand over fist thing. That's all it is. But it's all capitalism, and it gets to the point that it ain't just Jake. We're just mass and numbers, and we're going to be the first. But they want to do it to the whole world. They don't care about nobody. So you little rednecks and blue collar, y'all ain't in the clear. Okay? But when they're dealing with Esau, whoever's going to be the first is definitely going to be us. Okay, this like they wanted to give out that Jabberwocky. It was all in the hood with every Walgreens you can go to. Okay, it helps that like this ain't no coincidence. Like them stem checks. They want, what I'm saying, like all this stuff, man. They sitting here and they lick the wounds. And they let these heathens lick the wounds. You let the dog lick the wounds, man. And then when the Esau say what he say, the heathen ain't gonna trip, because they eating off of it. That's why I said no man shall buy you. Ain't nobody gonna come and help us. So why y'all running to the shadows of Egypt? For a bell and a whistle, right? So let's see here. I read this in Lamentations 2:15. It says, all that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All my enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth, and they say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we look for. We have seen it. So they want to see us down. They want to see us low. They want us to be called niggas, wetback spicks, murderers, thieves, robbers. But meanwhile, they're robbing countries. Meanwhile, they're selling drugs in East Indian trading companies, Europe. Operation Fast and Furious. You got the CIA, you know, but they won't call a nigga a liar. Say somebody's stealing and you stole the whole country. You stole from the natives. You lied about the peace treaties. But a nigga steal ice cream because he's poor, and he's in a situation you manufactured, and you could stop it. Just like you can entrap somebody, you can stop people from being poor. But you don't see the logic in that. But this is the fork tongue. He's a hypocrite. He got all the time to put a nigga in jail, but don't have the time to get a person out, because they don't want you out. They just want to. At the end of the day, if they could put everybody back in slavery, they will. And that's what they're trying to do via the MOTB. But long as they could blame a nigga while you're oppressed, it's a capitalistic concept to keep everybody divided. You know? And even though it's spiritual, this is like the avenue that they're using it. You know what I'm saying? If I could keep blaming these niggas, nobody would point the gun at me. Ain't nobody ever gonna storm the Capitol. I don't gotta worry about none of that. It's Arab niggas, Chinese Arab niggas trying to. You just keep doing that. While they oppress, oh my gosh, the gas is this, the gas is that. It's blame the niggas. Oh yeah, blame the Arab. Yeah. Why they keep on doing what they're doing? That's how capitalism works. You know? But that's why knowledge and wisdom should be the stability at times. You know, it's definitely the scriptures, primarily, specifically. You know, but there's also, you gotta, stand up on that watch and be on that tower and observing what the hell is going on and the patterns that Esau have, because they have a pattern, man. They're not that creative to where, like they going over people's heads. They just got a rinse, wash, and repeat style about themselves. Okay? Look at how the Epstein situation going about, the Iran situation, Ukraine situation. Okay, pray for Ukraine, putting flags up. Them niggas still getting bombed. Ain't no pray for Ukraine. It's just a distraction so they can do what they gonna do. You know? And once you get privy to it, you're gonna start seeing that and you're gonna be like, all right, what's going on? Midterms coming up. Let me see what some international news. Who made a deal? Who broke a deal? You know what I'm saying? Where the money going? How's the stock market looking? You start getting prudent and start looking around, man. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to add on, man. With that being said, give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha HaKodash, double honor to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth, sincerity. Shalom.